Hey there, everybody. We're back with Brandy Jade, Voices of Courage. I have with me here today the great and amazing Christopher Gulley. I always
Hmm.
do that with people because I'm like, Christopher.
Yeah, yeah.
What is up? This Christopher, you are you're the man behind the greatness. I know you have a team. You're
Oh
all
yeah,
great,
yeah, yeah.
but you have the LLC. You have something that a lot of people don't have, and it's for Black entertainment. It's for anybody, but Black entertainment, right?
Right, right. I host the a geek podcast called Blerd'S View, and I am also a one-third owner of the Black Legacy Productions, which is our media production team. We're working on some projects as we speak. Nothing major, nothing like that. We're just small time for right now, but something we're just starting up. But the podcast Blerd'S View was created because I don't know if is going to see it, but I'm a big comic book aficionado. I just love comics. I've been around it all my life, so love talking about it. And me and my partner, he's a big gamer, and we decided to just I started this
Oh,
podcast to talk about comics, and he joined, and then I added Candy B later on, and me and Candy B were cosplayers at the same time, so it was talking about comics from just or the geek culture from a POC point of view because we always see and hear all these other shows or conventions, and they really do cater more to the non-white um, audience, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's times where cosplayers, writers, artists that are of color or of a different sex too, get overlooked. We don't get as much shine, we don't get as much attention.
right.
So I created the podcast, and it's actually grown to become more of a showcasing POCs from POC creatives, cosplayers, writers, artists. We had a local artist here, Brandon X Bell. He does a web series called The Connected, and it's Bell. I think it's its third or fourth season now, and he's also a hip hop artist, and he also does a radio show. I had another local artist, Crazy Eight the Great. He's a local hip hop anime art, rapper. So it's these type of people that I want to showcase. Jason Michael Primrose, who stays out in California, he has his book, uh, the Andromeda series, and it's something that needs to be brought to the attention to a wider base,
Yep.
and they don't really get a lot of shine, which is why we have 29 or 28 days of Black cosplay in February, but people are now trying to step out that realm and becoming a year-round thing. We have Blurred Con now, which is taking place in, I think it's Virginia or Maryland. It's one of those two. You have DreamCon, which is a lot of POCs that go to this convention. So we're just coming out of the woodwork in droves. And there are other podcast platforms that are created to do the same thing. So we're trying to provide a safe space for a lot of POCs to come on, whether you're black, gay, trans, whatever, to say, hey, you have a space here. You like the same thing the other side likes, but you don't get to talk about it. You don't get to say what it makes you feel like. You don't get to say what you like best about it, or anything for that matter. So we do a lot of that. We do a lot of reviews for movies, television shows. We talk about a lot of television shows. So, and then we just have a lot of fun. And the one thing that a lot of people have often said when they come onto the show is, I feel like I'm at a family reunion or a black party, and that's the vibe we want them to have. We want them
Yeah.
to feel at home. We want them to feel comfortable. So they were like, you know what? It's so good. I want to come back. I want to talk to Chris Fury and Candy B and DC. I want to talk to those guys again because they were funny, and they were having
Yeah.
fun. So yeah,
Yeah, I got that feel too. I was just like, I felt right at home too when because you did your season finale,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I was just doing my thing and I was listening, and I was just like, oh, okay. So
yeah, yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
so this is
That
gonna
was
be a good time. I can just
yeah. That was that was our biggest. Well, not our biggest, but that was our biggest cast of POC creatives on that show. It was 10 of us. So
okay.
and I did that because most of them, all but one, was an actual guest earlier in the season, and we kind of collaborate on a lot of stuff. So the whole purpose was me to like, let's bring these people back all on one platform. Let's all talk about what it is, the ups and downs. Let's just have fun with it. It's the season finale. It's not all serious all the time. And we just, as you seen, you as you were listening and watching, it was like, yeah, we were just having fun with it. And that's what we do.
Yeah, most definitely. I do. I appreciate, because that's just like, right up my alley. Because I totally get it. Because people will look, even our own culture, at this side of us and think it's weird. Like you
Yeah.
don't get the attention from the other side. Oh, the trash man is going to do this right now, and the window is closed. It's like they know, you know what I mean? I've been around for a minute, and I think they
we
on to
stay
me.
we stay around the corner from a motorcycle bar, so it's amazing that
Have you had
every
something like this happen? I mean,
you know what, I've been lucky so far, maybe about one time, and it was earlier. It was in this. It was because we've been around for about a year and a half now. It was last year, and like my equipment was different and everything else. So of course, it picked up a couple things like from outside, like the motorcycles was going down the street, and I'm like, oh great, they would.
right? Like,
But
perfect
then I
timing, right?
right.
Oh my goodness, it's been quiet all the way up until this. That's why I feel like they know. They be like, she's on.
Yeah, right.
Ruin her shit.
That's the whole thing with podcasting. You always wonder, like, all right, I got complete quiet, hit record, and then that's when all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. You know what I do? I look right into the camera. I be like, the devil's a liar.
Yeah,
I
right.
still play this.
I mean, I got a partner who's down in Philly, and one of his castmates, she stays in a certain part of Philly, and we always hear the police sirens. So it's just like it's a part of the show now. It's just like, oh, it's part of it. It's in the show now. So, but it's
Right?
funny. But it adds a certain level of it's unique. It's a unique thing. It'd be
Yeah.
different if we were like serious all the time and we're in MSNBC
Yeah, exactly.
sometimes you just got to have fun with it and
Look,
just kind of roll with it.
even they can loosen up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Shoot, because this is real life. Real stuff happens. Like on our show, my friend, his kid, would start talking to him. Our kids would be like, "What do you want?"
Right.
But yeah, so people, let's just roll with it. I'm still having a good time. I'm excited, but I did want to. I was saying that okay, you don't get the recognition from that side. So I do love what you did, but also within our own culture, they be like,
Exactly.
what's that about?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think that how do we? I really want to know what's that about. Like, what is wrong with us being different?
I see. So there's another thing about our platform that we just don't tolerate. We just don't tolerate bullying of any kind. And here is a perfect example. A perfect example is there was a situation. Now, me and my team, we couldn't go to BlerdCon this year because we had other obligations and stuff. But this year, a person of it's called BlerdCon. It's for black nerds. But just because it's BlerdCon, it's geared towards African Americans does not mean it's only for African Americans. So as a partner of mine says, it's inclusion, not exclusion. So everybody's involved, and someone of a non a non a non POC person won a cosplay contest. Okay, and a lot of people were trying to kind of figuring out like, okay, how did this happen? Um, and I'm just going through everybody's accounts, seeing how they're feeling about it and how it went down. But then it turned left, and people were the young lady who I had never seen or ever even heard of before. She won, and I didn't recognize her face because she had a face mask on. There were still protocols in place for this kind of contest and everything, so you really couldn't make out of her eyes or anything because of the picture that was shot. And they pretty much bullied this young lady, to the point where she got off of social media, and and she gave back the prizes and everything else. And I think they gave it to the runner up who we actually had on the show. And one thing I said was, you can't become the enemy you claim to go against.
Exactly.
and that's what it was. And like it was so much discord, and it was like, look, do y'all understand what's actually happening? Y'all are turning into the one thing that y'all claim to be against
Mhm.
for the most part. I was like, that's something. It was like, okay, somebody of a non POC person won the contest. How do we combat that? So there was other ways they can combat that and everything else. But one thing you can't do is saying, blah 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 blah, and come down on her. And some people were, went to her account, from what I understand. I don't know how true it is,
Mm.
but I was like, now you're bullying,
Yeah.
And when it comes to our own people, what you have to understand is we have always been looked at as different inside our own camp, outside our own camp. It's literally the basis of X-Men is because people fear what they don't understand, and even within our own race, there are things that people who may never watch anime or never play video games or never read comics, and they might look at their son or daughter who's into this and dresses like the characters or cosplays the characters or dresses a certain style, and they say, I didn't raise them like that. I'm confused. Don't be confused. Get yourself involved.
Right.
You
Right.
never know. There are people. I use this analogy a lot. Coming up, I was a late 70s, early 80s kid. And coming up, I've always listened to hip hop. So Wu Tang comes along, and everybody's, screaming Wu Tang, Ghostface Killer, and Method Man, Old Dirty Bastard, all of these guys, right? And they still do to this very day. Then they find out, oh, uh, Ghostface Killer, he calls himself Tony Starks. You know, he loves reading Iron Man. Method Man loves Ghost Rider comics.
Mhm.
Method Man loves X-Men comics. And they were like, wow, really? I'm like, yeah, when you got one of the baddest groups, hip hop groups in our generation, and they aren't afraid to say, yeah, I've read comics. I got a few of these here. I watch anime. I watch this one. I love watching Speed Racer. I love watching Dragon Ball Z. You know, so one thing I've noticed becoming a blurred is once you've been exposed, you don't realize you're a blurred. And I think that was the other thing. A lot of us didn't realize that we were really nerds and blurs at heart. If you grew up watching Generation One Transformers or
Right.
Beetlejuice cartoons or
Remember GoBots?
G.I.
Remember
Joe,
GoBots?
yeah, GoBots, all these cats.
He-Man.
So yeah, exactly. So when you grew up
Zebra.
watching these things and collecting this stuff and playing it, guess what? You're a blurred. If you're a person of color and you're still into that stuff, you're a blurred. It's
100%.
okay.
I can
You're
see that. That was
completely okay. If you like anime, if you like gaming, if you like comics, if you like cartoons, hell, you can like all of them, like myself. So it's okay. And as my wife said when we first met and we were dating, she said, she's like, you're more like a thug nerd. And I said, I don't even know how the hell to take that. I'm like, what does that mean? And she was like, you like
I
reading
can relate.
comics, but you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. And I'm like, okay, I guess, so I'm like, that
Yeah,
didn't really make the polish any better, but
I see what you're saying.
okay.
I get you, wifey. I get you.
Yeah, yeah, so it has a certain level of you have to have a certain level of understanding of who you are, you
Yeah.
know, and the people who don't understand, come and find out. It's cool. You'd be surprised. Like some of the toughest dudes I know will sit back and say, "Yeah, I watch My Hero Academia. I've watched
Right.
Demon Slayer. You know, I watch Hunter x Hunter, or Cowboy Bebop. Or Fist of the North Star. There's nothing wrong with that because
At
that's what
all.
we grew up on. And
No.
and when you recognize who you are and what you are, then you're just completely comfortable.
Doing
So
what you
me,
like and what
Kareem,
you do.
yeah. So competing or uh creating Blur's Eye View was a way for me saying, hey, you're not alone. You are absolutely not alone. If you're a person of color, you are not alone. And there are way more of us than they really think. When
Yeah,
I
that's
first seen it, one of my biggest conventions I went to was Mid Ohio Con, which is in Columbus. And that was about maybe 10, 11 years ago. I've gone to this thing. I went there with the intention of meeting Stan Lee. So I volunteered.
my son loves his family. He's like, you got to
Unfortunately,
worry.
yeah,
He's so
unfortunately,
sad.
this was the weekend. This was the weekend where he started having heart issues. So like it was like a hush over the entire crowd over this convention. They were all wondering if he's okay. But prior to that news, um, I had seen more people of color, more black people into dressed as Power Rangers because Jason David Frank, who plays the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, the Red Ranger, the Black Ranger, he's been like just every version of Ranger, but uh, commanding the crowd. But seeing that people that look like me were still into Power Rangers, people that look like me are into The Walking Dead, people that look like
Like
me
me.
are into Doctor Who. You know, people. So
Walking Dead all
it
day.
made me feel good.
Yeah.
You know, people like me have always been into wrestling, except for lately because I don't know what the hell is going on with the WWE. But it's all AEW now.
Done
But
changed.
right, but it's those type of things. So to be to be bullied
Yeah.
in that arena don't happen. But see, now what we have to understand now is within our own camp is like don't say we weird. People used to say I got to the point I was comfortable enough. Oh, Chris is weird, and I would say, you know what? And I'm comfortable with being weird.
Right.
I ain't got to be like you. That's all that means.
Right.
So
Exactly.
so I was comfortable with that. I still am comfortable with that. So yeah.
That's awesome. My son, he's into the anime, and just like an hour ago, he was just sitting right here, and he just and I'm just like, I was actually preparing for this show, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
and I know that I should, but I just don't be getting it. But it's not. I'm supportive because I see that he is into something. Because I know how I am, how I was
Mhm.
growing up. I had my things I liked, way into cartoons, still am. You just said my shit. It was Walking Dead. I was going
Yeah.
to ask you about that too. Is Walking Dead connected? Because I know they have comics, and I didn't even know Walking Dead had a whole thing beforehand. And I've
Oh yeah.
been meaning to connect with the comics, and he knows a little bit about it. And so do want to get into that. But yeah, he was just there
Mhm.
and talking about it. And I appreciate this because, he is on that same page where he is into this stuff. And I don't know but I'm not one of my parents like, where did he get this from? I didn't teach him. No, but what I do know, I taught him to love what you know what I mean? You kind of love what you love. I've been
Right.
exposed. I can't hide him from stuff, so he's been exposed to things, and this is what he chose. And I respect it. I just, sometimes I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. He'd be like, Mom,
Yeah.
so no, I don't. Why did you ask me that? I
Yeah.
have no
My
clue.
son.
But you can tell me.
My son was the same. He still is the same exact way. He's in the military, so but he's the same exact way. When he was coming up, my son would watch anime and play games all the time. And his mother, my wife, his mother would say, "Oh, that boy playing games again." I said, "It could be worse. This kid could be out in the street
Hello,
somewhere getting in trouble."
hello. That's what I'm talking about.
So I would, and there was times I would want to come home, want to watch TV. My kid's playing the game. Okay, I go in the bedroom, watch television. Like, might be a little frustrated, but I wasn't trying to go lay on bed. But whatever, go play the game because I don't want you playing the game in my room. So,
But you
so
count your blessings because they could be doing something else. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
So and that's one way of looking at it. Is like
Hmm.
it could be so much worse.
Yeah.
It could be so much worse. You have people who are trans. You have people who are gay or queer, and black, and we're not even going there. If you're black, gay, and this is just in the one person. If you're black and gay, or black and queer, or black and
Hmm.
bi, you're already
Yeah.
you're already going. It's already going against you.
Yeah.
And so you're already having this. So the platform for Blur's Eye View was literally created. Not it started out as being a creation just to talk about the love of comics and gaming and anime and all the things in between, but it evolved. And you know it evolved into something more because I was seeing patterns where it was like, you should not be shamed for cosplaying as a character who traditionally in comics or in anime or in a movie is not black. You shouldn't be shamed for that. I've
Right.
seen so many people, oh, that's a great cosplay, but that person isn't black. Shout out to Afro Cocoa Puffs. You know, Hanada isn't black, or she's gonna be black today. Black today. That's her symbol.
I
She's gonna be black today. So shout out to Afro
heard
Cocoa
that.
Puffs. Um, but it's it's a beautiful it's a beautiful community. It really is. And even to the point where some of the people I've met online and befriended and text back and forth when season started, when the world started opening up. Chris, are you and the team coming down? No, we ain't gonna be able to. Oh man, I was like I'm missing the family reunion. But I'm seeing pictures of people who've never met, and we're coming off a whole year of not being in contact with people or not being able to go and enjoy ourselves outside of our home. And it literally was like a family reunion. People who lived on different sides of the coast go down in one convention and they meet up and they just have a blast. And that's the vibe. And that's the vibe I was hearing about, that people were getting together and they were having parties after the con and everything else. So this is why Blurred's Eye View was created, just for the sake of, hey, you got a gift, you got a talent, we'll showcase you, we'll give you a safe space, you know, and shout out to Hellspawn Cosplay, because he's doing a PSA right now. And you might have seen this picture. He's dressed as He-Man, but he's a amateur bodybuilder. He has the afro and everything,
That's
but
what's
he
up.
he he created a PSA because he has a 2-year old son, and he created this PSA because he wants other young black kids to see that we're out here. You
Right.
have black heroes out here, and when you hear kids saying, perfect example, when Black Panther was released, um, I was called by some mutual friends of mine from Akron, and they wanted me to dress. They knew I was a big Black Panther fan. Like I said, if people could see behind me, I'm like, it's lined with Black Panther. I've been riding with him since I was 12. So uh, they knew I would always cosplay. I would make up my own version of a cosplay and everything else. And they said, we want to do a couple photo shoots with people at the theater and everything else. I said, that's cool. So went up there to the theater. It was in Strongsville. Went to the theater. You know, everybody coming, mothers, daughters, sons, husbands. I seen a group of little kids, little young black boys. They had to been between 7 to 10, and they came out of the movie theater excited, seeing me with my sword, because I had a vibranium armor version that I had made, and I had a whole blade and everything, so it looked like a black knight. And they seen me and were so excited, and they were doing the pose and everything, and they were asking me questions like I was actually in the movie, and it was like, is Killmonger really dead? Did he really die? I was like, and I was in my best Wakandan accent. I was like, I cannot tell you that right now, and I was, so it was dope to see their faces
Yeah.
light up and see something like that. So, and rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. It'll be a whole year this Saturday
Yeah.
since his passing. But
People took that
uh
hard.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it does something when you see, when you as especially as a cosplayer, when you build this costume and you're just one thing about cosplayers, we're our own worst critics, and we're just like, okay, it's down to the wire. I gotta go to this thing. It's literally an hour before you're still working on it, and then you're just hoping it goes well. And then you see a little kid actually, you get people start recognizing you, and a little kid, little black kid comes up to you and loves it, and that changes everything you were thinking about, everything. So
That's freaking beautiful. That's what it's about. It's about the kids, you know?
yeah,
And the thing is that hardcore black people, especially in that era, because I was born in '78, so I don't know if
mhm,
that you're the same like that 70,
yeah,
80 thing. We
76.
were watching cartoons. We were watching Man. When you said He Man, I was like, every time I say He Man, they always leave He Man out. I'd be like, and He Man, and He
Yeah,
Man. So my mom would
right,
watch cartoons with us too. She was hardcore. I think that's where we really got it from. That she would, every morning wake up, she would GI Joe, GoBots, like she was in. She was on
right.
it, you know. So that's where I picked all that up from. And as you talk about these things, it gives, especially what's going on now, it gives me a sense of like calm, like those are good old days, you know.
Right,
So I'm
right.
like, where did we come along to where we judge our own people harder for watching? Like, it's weird. What's so weird? Give you an example. Marilyn Manson, right?
Okay.
For some time, like he has some dope ass music, right? But people
Hmm.
would look and be like, "Oh my god, why would you like something like that?" You know, I don't let appearances. You know, I mean, come on, they what they try to say about the melanin, so let's not do this.
Right, right.
But I like some of his music, and then some had a person of color say that that's white. Like, why are you listening to that? And it's kind of like, yeah, because I like music, and music is music. You know, a
Yeah.
little bit. You know, Marilyn
If it's
Manson
good, it's
has
good,
like
man.
DMX, right? Right. You look at Marilyn Manson, you wouldn't think. I read his little autobiography. He likes DMX. He's like one. He gave shout out to DMX. So it's
Right.
crazy to me how we get stuck in these things of like what somebody's supposed to be like because they're black. So we do this too to ourselves. We hold these ideas too. Also,
Mhm.
even knowing how it feels to get them, you be like, yeah, you don't judge me by my that doesn't my color doesn't make me, you know what I mean? But we do it to ourselves too, you
Right,
know?
right,
'Cause
right.
it's crazy. So this is what you're doing because I was going to ask you and you covered it. Like, what was the response? You know what I mean? And how big did it become? And like, did people gravitate? And that's all answered. And I have a son he's not. I don't know how you explain it. Like what's normal? See, like these labels and stuff. But this is what he's into. He
Hmm.
likes. I don't know if Naruto. Does that sound
Yeah,
familiar to
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah.
He was in that library. I took him to another school. He didn't have no library at our other school.
See?
He lived in this library every day. He was friends with the librarian, Naruto. He read every book. They were just like, here, here, here. Because he would come in, get those books, and just read them, read them, read them. I didn't know
And
who
that's and
Naruto
that's a
was.
that's a good thing. That's a good. You know how hard it is to get a kid to read,
Exactly.
let alone a manga. So
Right? He was in
so
that library. I felt bad because I was like, could you hurry up? He's in the library for God's sakes. How can you hate on your kid being in the library?
I
You
like
always
my
in the
son.
library.
Like there's a bookstore here in Cleveland that I go to. It's my home bookstore. When I moved to Cleveland, I'm originally from Akron, but when we moved to Cleveland, I had to find me a bookstore. And the owner of the bookstore, his name is John, and he said he got into comics when he was like 5, 6 years old, and his grandfather was an immigrant, and his grandfather learned how to read by reading comics. So when John was old enough to start reading, his grandfather just gave him these comics, and they were old Avengers comics at that. So he's when you think I was, you know, always into comics, John was born into it. So and he passes it on to his daughters. Him and his mother own this store, and it's always that's the life. He's a Cleveland firefighter. The reason why he's a firefighter is because he always envisioned himself as a hero. He's a great dude, a stand-up guy, and the stuff they do for the community, amazing. And but once again, even though he's non POC person, you have to see everything for what it's worth, for their worth. It's your
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah.
What makes you an ally to our struggle, to our fight. And some of the stuff I've seen him do, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can back you when it comes to a battle. I can back you. Not everybody gets that invite to the barbecue, so to speak.
Right.
So I can trust that he's not going to have raisins in his potato salad. I can trust that. So
Oh God, I did a video on that.
so but it's very, when it comes to our own camp, it's really disheartening. And there's levels to it. It's just levels. Sometimes we catch ourselves and don't realize it. But like you were mentioning Marilyn Manson. I remember a time where when he was coming out, and a lot of people were looking at it visually. Lady Gaga is a perfect example. I love her music because she's talented, you know, but she's catching your attention by doing all the off stuff.
Right.
Now your
Focus
attention
on.
is on her. Now she
Yeah.
about to hit you with the voice. Now she about to hit you with the piano. Now she about to
Right.
hit. See, now you caught in. Now you keyed in, and you can't help it. So it's all how you do it. But
Mhm.
you can never judge when it comes to us. Never judge a person. Never judge you. You got to get out of this judging pool.
Yeah.
And not everybody that's in our camp can come to the pool party neither. So
Very
it's,
true.
not everybody can make it to the pool party like that. But
Very
you
true.
have to. But the ones who are genuinely do not understand, I implore you, try it out. My wife will never read a comic book, but she will watch a television show. She will watch a movie. And whatever she doesn't understand, she's got her husband
Right.
to kind of break everything down to her. So it's not a bad thing. It's a good trade-off. So you know we've had this stigma, even like with shows like Family Matters. Here you have Stephen Urkel, who is a freaking genius, number one. Yet he's a young black kid who's a genius, but they overplayed his nerd so hard that it was ingrained in us that, oh, if you're into science, you're no good, or if you're into this, you're no good. It was like this dude was doing stuff way before Big Bang Theory. Let's face it, you know, and
He's unappealing to the girl, like all that
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
unappealing to the girl. It's like, oh, until he pulls the Nutty Professor on, and then
Right.
like now you got Stefan busting him out
Yeah.
and everything else. So he changing his DNA so he can fight like Bruce Lee, or creating robots and,
Mhm.
and everything else. The stigma of us being looked at is so different that it's ingrained. It's stuck in it. And you sometimes have to beat it out of yourself to be like, what? There is something that you like that makes you a blurred. You may not know it because and for those who's going to listen to the show or watch the show later, a blurred is a black nerd. That's all it is. It was coined, and we own it. And there's some things like with BlerdCon. Like I said with BlerdCon, it's black inclusion, not black exclusive. So understand that everybody can come. Everybody's welcome. Just understand that there are going to be topics and things that's being talked about that are geared towards us.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to understand.
Yeah.
What's it like
Um,
to be a blurred in today's age? What's it like to be a blurred in dating? What's it like to be a blurred and married? What's it like to be a blurred and not know you're a blurred?
so much to
These
cover.
things matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
these things matter.
Yeah. Some people wouldn't see it as and it's okay to like not understand, you know what I mean? But it's like with are you willing to understand, or what are you going to do with it? And it's so crazy we're talking about this right now, Chris, because I'm in this community. It's called Clapper. It's like the refugee for TikTokers. I need to get
Oh,
away.
oh
Going over to
yes.
Clapper, but I'm
Oh,
telling you, it's a safe haven. But we were in a group. I have a friend of mine. He's a broadcaster, and we did a room together, right? And so I
hmm
was a little lagging behind. So I don't know how they got on this topic. We get in there. I'm assuming he is not of color, so I feel like that. And he is. It sounds like a normal conversation, but his frustration. I don't know how we get on this topic. My friend's real nice. He'll answer questions about black people, right? And he's frustrated. The only problem I have is just, why do you guys need a Black History Month? Like, that's separating. Like, why do we need that? And I'm just sitting here. I'm just like, dude, you're tripping. Like, America doesn't even care that much about it. So it's like, that's all the problems you had. This
hence,
is what you chose.
hence us only having a month.
That's the only thing you got a problem with. Like, this is it's a month. First of all, Black History Month. I'm not impressed either. If you really want to
Right.
know, that's just something they do just to get here, take that.
Yeah,
If you do the
exactly.
history, do the
Exactly.
history and figure out what it really was, who came up with it. Just like they did Juneteenth. I'm telling them, I'm like, you got an issue with it. I personally, a lot of black people are getting tired of it. Like, because like, what more can you say or do? But the real question is, why are you so bothered by it? Like, you don't. America doesn't even recognize it. Really, we have to remember it's Black History Month. It's like it's
Exactly.
more,
The black flag, the black national anthem, Juneteenth. I can say this. I had a history teacher when I was in high school. Her name was Mrs. Lockley. We used to call her name was Justine L. Lockley, but we used to call her Justice and Liberty. She was a little, she was a small, older black lady, but she was a firecracker. And when it came, and our high school was predominantly black, okay, which is funny because my mother went to the same high school when it was predominantly white. So we seen a complete flip. So when we were there, and it was black, we had her for history, and it was Black History Month. And the first thing she did was she was going through the article or the history book, and it's always the shortest chapters in a history book. It just pissed her off. So she said, "You know what? I think we were talking about Martin Luther King," and she got upset, and she closed the book. She's like, "You know what? Everybody close your books." She said, "Let me tell you about Martin Luther King. Let me tell you about Malcolm X. Let me tell you about this, this, and this." She said, and by the time she was done, she said, "I'm going to try to figure out a way where you can actually learn about your history." So she pushed and pushed, and she managed to get it to where we could come after school. After school was over, we can come to her class, and we would learn about all these other different Black history moments, facts, everything. And it was eye opening, and I've loved it. And when you speak of Black History Month, I'm one of those ones that like, why do we have to have a month? Why can't we have it all the time? Like, you really want to boil it down. We are America's history. We are more than slavery. You know,
Exactly.
we are more than
And that's why
slavery.
people are tired of it, because that's all they ever got to hear. And it's a
Right.
reminder.
Right. I'm not negating slavery. I'm not saying no, we need to know
It's just
about
so
it.
much more.
But I don't want to keep seeing movies about it.
Mhm.
You know, I want to see the black cowboys because that's who we were. I
Yeah.
want to see more of that. We were running old west.
And nobody will
It
ever
wasn't
know that, right?
exactly, fun fact, Bass Reeves is the model for the Lone Ranger. And Bass Reeves was black. So when they
Tell them.
talk about this Texas Ranger who was supposed to be dead, and he was this slick gunfighter and everything, that was Bass Reeves. Everybody, Bass Reeves was a black man. Bass Reeves was an ass kicker. This is why I love shows like Lovecraft Country. This is why I love shows like that, because telling you a story. The one narrative that was always talked about within the Black community was, we would like to see ourselves be the lead in a horror film. We would like to see ourselves be the lead in an adventure film. We'd like to see ourselves be the lead in a science fiction film. We like to see our leads be in a supernatural film. Lovecraft Country was all of that. And along, not only that, but they also peppered historical moments
Mhm.
throughout this show.
Yes.
And which is why it pissed me off. And HBO, they got 18 nominations, and HBO was like, "Oh, we're not picking them up. Why not? Like, you're
Yeah.
missing a
We know
prime
why.
opportunity." Yeah, we know why, but
Right?
you're missing a prime opportunity of telling an amazing story. Shout out to Misha Green, because I
Yeah.
follow her on Twitter, and she had a full write up of what the second season was going to be about and beyond.
Mm.
And I'm so upset we'll never get to see that.
That's just how bad. That's how badly it doesn't want to show. You know what I mean? Truth, or have us have something that really shines.
Mm-hmm.
You're willing to pass up the money. You know what I mean? That you can get out of it. You know,
Yeah,
but you don't want no parts of it. You know, you don't want that because I think it'll trickle just like the critical race theory and stuff. It's just like, why now? And then
y'all
like,
want to y'all want to rebrand
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Somebody else I follow on Twitter is Orlando Jones, and I'm trying my damnedest to get him on. But his role as Mr. Nancy in American Gods made me made me want to read the series again. But his role on that show was so powerful that it sat back and just made me like, mm, he ain't spit nothing but the truth every single time. When he went to the slave ships and he was talking about, he got the slave revolt all riled up, so they went and fought back their slave masters on the ship. Some of them died. That happened. That actually happened.
Yeah.
Stuff like that with Haiti. That happened. The people of Haiti fought back against the British. That in the French. That happened. And they
But
would
we think
never
we didn't
know
do
it.
nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
You think
yeah.
we
Those
just
things
went
that come and
willingly.
go.
Sometimes Nat Turner.
Oh, don't even
Nat
start.
Turner.
What they did to that man.
Nat Turner.
How you tell somebody
People,
that?
yeah. It was like, yeah, he was a slave until he flipped on them. And in 24 hours, he had he had those folks running for the hills. So,
but they tell me if I'm because I'm learning 2021. People be out here
mhm,
lying. Right,
yeah,
wipe the slate clean. We've been lied our whole lives. Who am I? Didn't
right.
they
This,
eat? Didn't he get boiled up? That's what I knew of Nat Turner. Like they had a really nice fucking meal.
yeah,
Who does
yeah,
shit?
yeah.
And we the crazy ones. And no
The thing,
disrespect.
the
I'm
thing, the
not
thing,
saying
the,
that, but it's the
the
truth.
things they did to his body.
And we the monsters.
Yeah.
We the crazy people.
If you would have heard, I'm not even gonna say it on this show because it's gonna you're gonna be like, what? Like, no.
It's voices of courage now, Chris. I know, but just go ahead. If you feel you need to.
Look, they dismembered this brother. They cooked this brother. So when you cook something, what do you do afterwards? So I'm just saying,
Okay, for real. That's the crazy part.
you
Wow,
know.
wow, wow. That's
I
why they
mean,
want to go
but
to the
yeah,
cookout. I don't know. So just
right.
you
So it's there's so many
can't make
levels.
up stuff like
Like,
this, right? But they don't talk about it. You don't see it in
yeah,
movies.
I mean, I've called. Okay, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you were online and remember last in 2020 they was talking about December 21st. Black folks was supposed to get their superpowers, right?
Yeah, I do remember
This was like
that.
there was like this thing running around, and folks was really waiting. They
They
was really
was.
waiting,
We do some
and it was
shit.
it was a special full moon and everything. Like,
I remember.
seriously, and black folks was like really like, the hype was so real.
I heard about it. I
And
was
people
peeking out the
really
door.
the hype was real. And me and my partner DC and Candy B, we got to talking, we were joking about it, but literally 2020, I call it the awakening. Yeah, we got our powers. It's called the awakening. They're not as fantastical as what you see with the X-Men
Right.
or anything like that, but the truth is coming out now.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
that we didn't know before is coming to the surface. Things that we didn't, things that we were lied to about are now coming to the surface. When people talk about Jesus, and I don't know where they got this white version from. I have
Oh,
no
we know
clue.
where.
Like, I mean, even as a kid, when you're reading it and you're just like,
The
his
woolen.
feet were, woolen hair, skin of bronze, feet of clay. And I'm like, none of that screams white to me. I'm sorry. Like, have you seen, or like, are you colorblind? Is that what it is? So
Critical thinking, common sense. I
critical.
don't know.
Yeah. So,
You tell
and
somebody
so
something, it's like, no.
right. So, it's the way the 2020 was the year of the awakening for our people. And truth really was coming out on a lot
Yeah.
of things. So, you get like critical race theory. I'm like, oh, you're just going to rebrand it now and try to demonize it
Right.
for what it is. There wasn't any happy slaves. Do you know any black people who just want to get their ass beat on a daily? Like, even when we got in trouble as
Just let me tell you
kids,
something.
like,
Whew. So check this one out though. All right, so Kanye, wait, it was Kanye, but then there was, he just you gotta have a little bit for him because he really be trying, and he kind of went so far in that like we don't
you know
really
what?
know
Here's
what's
my
going
thing
on.
about Ye. Here's my
But
thing about Kanye. The man's a damn genius.
very much
He's a
so.
musical freaking genius. When you let him do his thing, he's got it. He can go on his rants, and a lot of times his rants make sense.
Yeah, he trying to tell
But
us something.
yeah, but then he kind of turns left a little bit. I'm like, all right, wait a minute, brother. You got to come back
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
Come just a little bit around. You went too far out. You went too far out. Come on back.
Yes.
But you know, a lot of stuff he was saying makes sense. Now, I don't like that he was hugged up on Trump because I've never been a Trump fan. I'm like, never,
Right.
but
That's the
you
thing
know,
that'll mess it up for you. Like we was with you, and then that just totally messed us up. We don't get it.
like you were hyping this dude up. I'm like, dude, no, what are you doing? So
Right? And
so
then he
yeah.
started talking about the slave stuff. Like afterwards, we're like, this has got to be for show.
I'm like, it's
It
gotta
was
be.
like-
I'm like, where I'm like, this is why I'm like, your mother, if you and I've always had the thing about Kanye, like Kanye was
yeah,
always Kanye when his mother was
that
alive.
messed him up.
But once she died, he wasn't the same no more.
Mm-mm. He said, "Get
And you
Out" was
could
about
tell.
him.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, he had me looking into it. I was like,
It makes you wonder,
you
like
never
you were
know.
trapped. Some of them
Right?
out there, they still trapped.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And
People
and,
just
and
discount him. I'm like, no, pay close attention.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
he might be rambling. That's probably why it sounded incoherent to you,
Yeah.
and a little off. But dig under the surface. He's telling you something. It's coded, I guess. I don't know.
And courageous. That's some courage to even be attempting to, So
All right.
like,
And I
listen,
think personally, I think I'm like, if he acts crazy enough, they'll just write him off as crazy. But if he put in some of this knowledge in between, they're like,
right?
oh, he's
You
still
know he's
talking
smart.
crazy. He's
Right.
talking crazy again. So
Right. His own people can't get him. I'm like, damn it, listen to him. I did the show on it. I was concerned. I seen him on the Breakfast Club, and I watched 3 different episodes. Charlamagne, he really knows how to do that asshole thing he do. And Kanye was
yeah.
just like, you know what, it seemed like he wanted to be like, you know what, no, tell you.
Right,
And he
right.
was like, tell he was trying to get something out. And then after all 3, I felt like I was like, I think we should somebody should talk to Kanye. I don't feel like being
Yeah.
like, ooh, he is crazy. I was like, something's up. You know what I mean? Like something's going on there,
Hmm.
because
And
I
I
could
know
just
it's
feel it.
and that's and there's something else. There's definitely
Hmm.
something else, and it's mental, and
Yeah.
that's another thing. Uh, that when I mentioned the awakening of our people, mental health. We're just coming out on the
Just
tail
starting to
end
talk about it. Yeah.
of mental health month, and uh, Black people are really starting to recognize
Mm,
therapy is needed
yeah.
for our traumas. We deal with trauma, whether it's medical, whether it's corporate, whether it's financial, home. Like, as a Black man, to walk out in the world today, and you don't have to have a record of doing anything,
Mm.
but to have that fear of hearing sirens so close to you
That's
that you be like, it
PTSD.
wasn't it wasn't me, it wasn't me. And know that you don't have a record, know that you don't have no warrants, know that you never did drugs, and knowing, and still have that fear.
Mm-hmm.
We need therapy's fine. Therapy is completely fine. We have to get away from that stigma of
We don't
number
do that.
one. Right. We
Yeah.
don't do that, or men don't share their feelings, or
Right.
don't cry, or women aren't angry. Black women aren't angry all the time. That's not the case. There is so much against us
No.
that we have to find a way to come back, bring it back in. Talk to the ancestors.
But who do you think I've been talking?
Talk to the ancestors. Why do you
Shoot.
think we know how to cook so well?
Okay.
Like, if you see that meme or that joke when they say, how do Black folks know how to cook? It's like, we listen to the ancestors. We don't use measuring cups. like
But you just have to know and just hit just right, huh? You be
like
like,
like that's enough, my son. You know what?
that's what that must have to be. Because I only know, seems just
Right.
right.
Like, my great grandmother was like that. She was teaching me how to make cookies, and she was like, I was a kid trying to use the cup. She's like, no, don't do that. She just put it in my hand. I'm like, okay. Oh, it's the ancestors.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But therapy is completely fine. And it's okay. Now, the back end of that is, there's not enough therapists of color
I
that
was
we can
lucky to
talk
have
to,
one.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because how did you, as a Black man or a Black woman, go into a doctor's office and talk to a white therapist
Yeah.
about Black issues that you're dealing with?
Yeah. I was looking, I had
That
a psychiatrist that was old white man, and the therapist was black. So psychiatrist really just prescribes, he can prescribe
Yeah,
they need to have. She was for the working on stuff,
right.
So
So
think
it's
that
it's
goodness.
really it's really really
But that's so
like,
true.
you're already dealing with things, and then you got to come in and speak to this white woman or white guy about Black issues, and it's like, okay, now you just added another layer.
Right, of some more therapy.
I don't
Yeah,
feel right telling you this.
right. And
I'm
people
not
would
so
have to
much angry.
understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, for Black therapists that are out there, Black psychiatrists that are out there, raise your hand, reach out.
yeah. This thing that we got to start bring. That's why we got to take hold of this education system and stop playing games within this one. It's not going to change. This is indoctrination. We have to be parents can at home, however we do it. We have to prepare this foundation, and we need doctors that we can trust. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that comes with the future with our children. People need to get together and stop going. You're vaccinated. I'm not. Could you? Can we get? Can we focus on
I
getting our
yeah.
kids to the next
I had I
level?
had a I had a I had a general physician who was Black. She was a Black woman. She reminds me of an aunt, because she was telling it like it is, and no holds barred. And my wife was like, "Oh, I like her," because she didn't hold back, and even she was saying it. Like, there's certain things that our people don't get from other doctors.
Right.
So this is what I need you to do, or this is what I'm going to prescribe for you, or this is what I need you to start doing, because this.
Yeah.
We don't get that. Black
It's
women do
imperative.
not get that in the medical field.
Yeah, we don't. They look at us differently. Like we are less likely to get pain medication and stuff. If you do the statistics, we will be in a lot of pain because they think that black people don't feel pain the same. They used to do experiments on black women. Like we
Yes,
supposedly we
yes,
have thicker skin, and until this day, people don't understand. And that's why
and that's a
thank
old.
God that
That
I'm
was
patient because
Yeah.
that
That's
makes
a
me mad.
old. Yeah, that comes from old racist
Hmm.
practices.
Yeah, there was an
And
actual doctor that he was doing experiments
yeah, when you're
to stick up her
snatching out
head.
the uterus of a black woman
Right.
without
Out
anesthesia
anesthesia. That is so.
because you're saying, oh, she doesn't feel it.
And for what reason would they think that though? That's the crazy
Right. So
part. Where did you get that idea
I
from?
don't know, so
And it's,
when you see things such as like Outcast, when they the one album AT Aliens, and it was like an actual comic book, and it made you feel like this is why we are so different from other races, because
mhm.
we provide so much
Yeah.
to this world, to this history, to just everything. Like there's a joke. They says if black folks were to leave this earth for 24 hours and take
What?
everything with them that black folks created,
Nothing here.
this world would be shot to hell.
Why they won't let us
You
go.
know how many wrecks there would be if there wasn't a traffic light? How much spoiled food would be? Math.
Yeah. Oh
Look up
man.
Mansa Musa, richest man in history. To this day, Nas talks about him all the time.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
just
and,
somebody put
and
that name to that.
yeah, yeah, Nas talks about it all the time with some of his records. So yeah,
Yeah. That's crazy. And you know what? Because that's why I got so mad at Ice Cube. Because I love me some Cube, but when he got up there and he was, talking to, people, I wasn't mad at that. But
Mhm.
when he was saying like, man, when he came back, he was like, sat down. He was like, yeah, so black people, we strong, we could take it. And I looked at the screen. I said, no, we can't. I was like, I was
Okay,
like,
there's levels to
strong.
this.
I'm
Like, yeah,
saying
are
that
we
they,
strong?
they
Yes, we're
already
strong,
think that we
but
can.
we don't want to. The thing is, yeah, we're strong, yes, but it's because we've endured so much. That doesn't
Right.
mean we want to endure it. We
You see
shouldn't
how
have
people
to.
tag that to us? Strong. Oh, black
Yeah,
people. Oh, you're so strong. Can you stop saying that? Because there's a time when I'm not, and I'm weak,
yeah.
and I
That
feel
that's
stuff
that's a
too. So it
you
kind of
know
bothers me.
yeah. When you strong black women, you got to be the mother, you got to be the wife, you got to be the partner, you got to be the matriarch.
That's all we
You
see.
know,
They see,
that's you got to be the superwoman.
but that's
And
not
then
reality.
sometimes you need to break, and black men, it's the same thing. You got to be the lead. You got to be the protector. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to get home alive. you
Yeah,
know it's a lot.
yeah. And then
it's
deal with what society has created within your home when you have that black mother, child of your mother, or maybe together, but it's like you have
Y'all in
this.
the separate homes, and
Yeah,
there's that band.
you
There's that
angry at
band.
her. Yeah,
So it needs to be, there needs to be a compromise. Sometimes you need to step out of yourself and understand, like, okay, she's probably upset because I did something. And then black women, he's probably upset because I did something.
like
What can we do? Put your pride aside, number one,
yes,
you know, and recognize of, like, all right, this was an ego issue. This is part of my pride. This is a problem because you don't want the cycle to continue with your kid. You don't want your son to come think he to be the baddest. We can cuss on here, right?
yeah, yeah. His voice of courage.
Yeah, yeah.
Be
You
you.
don't want you want to every man, every black man wants his son to be strong, no doubt. Every black man wants his daughter to be strong, but we don't want our kids to be destitute, broken, led astray, be the baddest motherfucker. One thing my parents taught me was you can be the it's always somebody bigger. It's always somebody bigger. So don't think that it can't happen. But understand that, you know, if you got your behind beat a lot as a kid, you might end up becoming like that parent. And that's just how they were taught. But sometimes that's not the answer. If your kid is 3 years old, 2 years old, and he's throwing a temper tantrum, Beating them is not the answer,
At all.
because you got to understand this kid is learning to process emotions. He's learning to process, he or she is learning to process a situation. And you, as the parent, need to be patient and let them wait that out because they're frustrated.
Right.
Think
Well, but
about,
what are they thinking? Like, are they being bad? Like, why would you use that? Like, what's that supposed to do? Like, it'll get them to
right.
shut up? Are you trying to teach? Because whoopings
No,
are
like you
teaching
beating them, and,
discipline.
and it's making them cry more, So it's,
Duh.
think about it. It's literally a
Common
science to
sense.
it. Sometimes, like, you got to think, they say a child from the year of one all the way up to six, there, that's a learning. You're consistently
Yeah.
learning, but that is a prime stage for them to learn the basic stuff:
Got to
how to
fit in.
share, how to convey emotions, how to talk, and it's those type of things where like, well, what are they doing and what are they saying and and why are they acting like that? Why are you being impatient? Should be the question.
It's three. What do
Right.
you expect them to know, right?
If you come home and your 2 year old, or if you were in the kitchen making dinner and then your 2 year old snuck in the Vaseline and smeared it everywhere, yeah,
Yeah.
you'll be upset.
Yeah.
But guess what? They're in this discovery stage. So you kind of
Yeah.
like look back at it and you gotta laugh.
Yeah.
You
Because
know,
you got to
it's
teach it like they're three. So you know they're going to do stuff and you know it's not intentional for them. I mean, but they don't, you know what I mean? They're babies. They're supposed to do these things. They're supposed to,
they're learning.
yeah.
I'm the oldest of four kids, and I remember my kid brother. When we were coming up, he would eat. Little kids, they eat with their hands, and my dad would clean him up. He was like, "How in the hell did you get spaghetti in the diaper?" And I'm sitting here watching you eat. Like, how did you get it in the diaper? How is it in the crack of your ass? How is the noodle? You know, Kids is going to be
Man.
kids. This is what it
Yep.
is. So yeah, you get, that's one of the things you have to learn just as a parent. You got to
Yeah.
learn patience. You got to have patience.
Yeah.
And that's just from 1 to 6. That's just being a kid. We're not even talking teenagers.
I had a psychotherapist on the other day. I was like, man.
Teenagers, teenage black boys, teenage black girls deal with, and I'm not saying teenagers as a whole, they deal with a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't
teenage
want to do
black
it over
boys and black girls deal with so much more. You know, they deal with all the same issues. Now, add being black and all of that. I'm dealing with a bully in school,
again.
but I'm black. I'm dealing with this teacher while I'm trying to learn this class, but I'm black. I'm not learning the way I want to learn or should be learning because I'm black.
Yeah.
And those are so many issues that's just being a teenager.
But look, turn it around like this though. And they have all that stuff you just said because they black, but it's a black school, and the people that around them are
Mm.
majority black, and they are the bully, and the other person on the other side they bullying is black. So I guess out in that other world, they would call that black on black or proximity. I don't know, whatever the fuck
Yeah,
that means.
there is so
You
much.
know?
There's some The education system consistently fails.
Yes.
Consistently
You can be a
fails.
black school and still fail your school. You'd be like,
Right.
that's when I knew there was an agenda.
I can. There aren't enough black male teachers. There aren't. I can name, out of my entire
I
12
had
years
one.
of schooling in some college, I can name one black male teacher that we had.
I had Mr. Johnson, sixth grade.
You know, and there's not that many of them. We need more.
Yeah.
Number two, we need to pay these teachers. How
Thank
can you
you.
sit there and say education is the background of every child and pay these teachers what, 30 grand?
Yeah.
And now we're just coming out of a pandemic and you wonder why they're not coming back to
Yep.
be a teacher. Like, it's not worth the hassle.
Yep. Do so
You're not
much.
giving me
A
you're
lot.
not giving me the resources I need. You're not giving me the function I need. You're overcrowding my schoolroom. There's no way a teacher can teach 45 kids in one room.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
ridiculous.
insane.
That's just that's like cruelty. Like that should never happen. Because what we had was a charter school with maybe like 100 and some kids, and we would sometimes have combo classes, and the most you would have in there is probably hitting 20. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
That's a
Probably.
lot of voices.
Yeah, you know
That's a
what I
lot of
mean? So
voices. That's a
classroom
lot of
management you got to
yeah,
have on lock, but still, to that needs to be considered because it's one teacher, and if you have an aide, that's still not. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
You have to treat them. It's the same thing when I mean it's this is a formula I've seen consistently. When they say it's about the children, it's about the patient, it's about anything. But look behind the scenes, and it was like it's all this red tape. You know,
mhm,
sometimes you got to cut a corner because you're trying to make it right for the patient.
yeah,
Well, they got to sign this paper. This patient is in need. We'll worry about the paperwork later.
same stuff. Yep.
You know, this kid is in need. We'll worry about that extra stuff later. The tension will not work.
Same
Kids
stuff.
learn completely different. So you might have a
Some
kid
kids,
who
some
is a
years.
yeah, you might have an honor student who's acing your history or your math or your science class, but then you have another kid who has an attention deficit issue
Yeah,
and is not being recognized because we don't know what to look for.
yeah. Or they're the bad kid. You know, take him to out.
Yeah,
That's what I got a lot. Take him out. And it would
they're
be known that they had the attention deficit or on Adderall or something like that, but still didn't get that same type of, you know what I mean,
yeah, right.
care or attention. And with me, I was a little different,
So
but I would still
sometimes
address it, you know, but you have to address it.
yeah, sometimes homeschooling is probably the best option because a
That's
parent
something.
will know how. Like I have a niece. She's not my niece by blood, but me and her mom are best friends, and we came up together. And that's what she had to do for her when she got to I think like the 10th grade. People were bullying her, and
Just from
she's
my son's home.
freaking brilliant. And she was getting bullied, and they were talking about her hair because she has this thick braid of hair. She's a beautiful girl, and they were talking about her hair and everything else. And so my sister pulled her out. She was like, "I'm a homeschooler." She did better being homeschooled because one thing they don't teach you as a teacher or anybody of a higher management position of any kind or authority issue or authority position, they don't teach you how to crisis manage
No,
anything.
no, they don't. That's why I'm trying to get that shit and put into the like the the curriculum or just something because they don't.
Mhm.
You don't know how to handle situations that bullying and all that stuff. Like they don't teach them, and so I never understood why a teacher would say that I don't know what to do. I'm just that's some bullshit. I was like, you got a kid, but in a bigger aspect of things, they don't know how to function within. But I'm be honest with you, Chris, I still don't get you you why someone just can't understand that and know how to deal with it if you know you're a human being and you have children at home. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you know if it was your child, what you would do and what you would stand for. So why isn't that here? Now on a bigger scale, like you said, the
You can
crisis
apply that.
management. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But on the crisis
you can
management, that
apply
means
that stuff.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can
it does need
apply
to be
that like when you have kids at home and who
hmm
broke the lamp. I didn't do it. And I'm
right,
like, all right, well, we're gonna sit here. We're gonna figure out if somebody
right.
fesses up.
You're gonna take
Same thing
care of
with
it.
bull. Same with thing with a kid that gets bullied.
You can't turn the eye
Who
or
started this? Who started this? And as an authority figure, you should be able to spot
yep. Yeah, that was
if
my
this kid
favorite
is
part
being
of
bullied or
it.
not. There's certain things.
Yeah.
There are mannerisms. There are ticks. There's
Yeah.
something that's going to point out to you that's like this kid is the one that's getting bullied. We need to talk to this kid separately on one issue. We need to talk to this kid separately on a whole nother issue because
Yeah.
this kid that's doing the bullying, he or she might be getting mistreated at home, may
Yep.
not have a home, may
That's
not
usually
have
what
both
it is.
parents in the home. It's always something,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And you
they're
gotta be
getting that
nosy as
first.
hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
I used to
exactly.
I used to snoop all the time. I'd be like, Mhm. And I used to know who it was. I just do like you said, just sit back and say, okay, so what happened. They could be so convincing, like both of them, but so I know your reputation, so I'm gonna keep an eye
Hmm.
on you. But you know what would get me sometimes? The other person, there would be like a word that kid would use that they never use, and I'm like, oh, it's definitely it. It would be like I
Yeah,
remember this one kid. It was like a big word because he was a very vocal and like the type of things he as a second first grader he would use. And when he used the word, I said, "Oh, you definitely it's you," which I should have known,
yeah,
but you never know. Can always flip
right.
flop. But it's exactly what you said. Like a bully is usually also too something's going on. They probably get lost in the mist at home. Nobody cares. Getting bullied. I had one girl. Her mom was murdered, and she had a baby sister. And I don't know if anybody ever talked to that girl about that or processed. They
And
never
that's
told us.
that. There,
They
there
should
is
tell us
so
if we're
much.
working with her.
Yeah,
But I
there
knew
is
that
so much
much.
involved with that. With a
Yeah,
situation like that,
you have to talk to
therapy's
her and
needed.
tell us all that. Yeah. But how's a
You
teacher
know.
supposed to work with a child like that if you're not disclosing all the information? Like we knew that happened to her, and
Hmm.
I just took a stance, and I was just like, since I know this, 'cause I'm not gonna come out and ask for detail. That's inappropriate, and I don't know the situation, but I just
Hmm.
knew that she needed to be addressed. I understood her anger, even though the
Yeah.
shit she was doing was wrong.
Yeah, you
I tried to
understood because
empower her.
it's coming from a place of
Yeah.
frustration.
Yeah,
You
I tried
know,
to give her
because you're
a
just
honors
in
roll, like a
loss.
leadership. It was
Yeah,
wrong. I should never did that. She tried to fire everybody. It was awful. She went through. She was the worst, but I tried. she was,
yeah,
it was horrible. I should have never gave her that position. She got me in some really bad shit because of that.
yeah,
But nobody ever addressed it or told us was she getting therapy or
yeah.
anything
See,
at all whatsoever.
it's best for our people to. That's why I said it's best for our people now to address those type of things. You know, you just
Yeah,
can't glaze it over. Things don't glaze over well. You know, they might process it well today,
yeah.
may process it well tomorrow, but that doesn't mean it's being processed. It's probably just being put on the shelf. And when you put so much stuff on the shelf breaks.
No ball. I'm learning that
You
myself.
know, and when you like, where's this coming from 10 years later? Where is this coming from? Why did it? Well, think about all the stuff this child went through.
Yeah.
You know, my wife would say, honey, you cuss too much. And I say, if I don't, then my point doesn't get across because that's what people respond to.
Yeah.
Like you hear the voice, you're like, oh, he's got a nice smooth voice, and da, 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 da. But if I start dropping f bombs left and right, oh, now I got your
Whoa,
attention.
whoa. True.
You know, now I got your attention. Ask Samuel Jackson. I got your attention now, right? Okay. Now, so sometimes you have to do these
Yeah.
type of things to get the point across. Uh, Crisis management with law enforcement, it is needed. It is needed. I am sorry. You know, I'm not about defunding. We need law enforcement. I'm one of those ones that I'm one of those ones where I can't say I hate police. My cousin was a state patrol officer, and it's actually been touted on the news and everything. He was a state patrol officer in the Maryland, D.C. area, and he was pulling a guy over for a busted tail light. This was back in the early '90s, and busted tail light, and that's all he was doing was pulling him over, letting him know, yeah, your tail light's broken, you're gonna get it fixed, whatever. Turned out this dude was an ex-con, just got out, had warrants for his arrest, shot and killed my cousin, point blank, right? Which is why they wear vests now when they, everywhere they go. And this is why it changed the way they approach vehicles because of situations like that. So now when people say, oh, the police, they always on high alert. Well, they have to be on high alert, number one. But at the same time, they need to understand crisis management. You cannot get a call to a house for someone who's being belligerent for whatever reason. This person might have mental issues.
Exactly.
So the cop doesn't know this, but you have to be able to be very analytical with a situation. Everything does not revolve around pulling your pistol.
Very true.
I know an officer who I went to school. This is how small Akron is. I went to school with his niece. He patrolled the high school, and it turns out my mother went to school with him. So that's how small actually like we it was the same school. So, but he retired a few years ago. But he was highly respected amongst us and the community because he was one of those ones that said we have to police our own, number one. And he says you need to understand the community. And he had never pulled his gun out for any reason, period. And no cop, most cops don't want to do that. Most cops don't. But and I know one he's also another he was an Akron officer. He's now an officer down in North Carolina. And he's the same way. You know, he says if I have to pull you over for running a stop sign or something, rolling stop, let's say that. He says I pull you over and I find you got a joint in the car, I'm gonna tell you to get rid of it. He said I'm not gonna give you a ticket. I'm not gonna arrest you. He said because that's too much paperwork. He said I'm going to tell you to get rid of it and give you a warning about the rolling stop or whatever it is, and just don't let me catch you again. Now he said, on the other hand, if I could pull you over for the same rolling stop, and I got and your car is reeking, and I find you got like a whole key sitting in your trunk or something,
It's an old story.
now I got to do something, you know.
Right.
So, but see, it's that type of mentality you might need to have as an officer of the law.
Yeah.
You know, you need to know when to pick and choose your battles. And also, even on our side of the camp, you know, a lot of stuff gets recorded now. A lot of stuff gets recorded. We can't be so quick to jump up and say, oh, the police officer did this, police officer did that. You need to know how to de-escalate a situation.
Yeah.
Case in point, there was a video a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago. The video started out, the first video started out with the officer laying on top of the girl, young black girl, trying to handcuff her. And they were struggling. And everybody was yelling at her. And then it turned out she got arrested. And then there was another black woman that got arrested. I think it was somebody in her family. It was just this whole mess. And I kept thinking, like, how did it get to that point? What happened that it got to that point? Well, then, like, the next day, the whole video came out. It was on Instagram. And it showed, apparently he had got a call about a fight in the area. And so when he goes to the area, he sees this young black girl, no shoes. She's crying and, you know, she's hyperventilating because she's been crying so much. And, you know, her hair's a little disheveled, so you can tell she was been in a fight. So he's trying to find out what's going on with her. And she didn't want to talk. Where he went wrong is he had to put his hands on her to stop her from going away. You might not want to do that because, once again, you don't know who you're dealing with. You know, there sometimes you have to really take a step back and learn to come at the situation from a different angle.
Yeah. That's just like if somebody come and touch you and
Yeah,
you're
you're
like,
gonna. I don't know you. Who
yeah.
are you? Especially in this day and age, I don't know what you're getting ready to do. You know, I could have been the victim for all you know. We don't know. So everybody's on high alert. Somebody in that room has to take a break. There has to be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
I got another situation. This is what I mean by that. I work at a hospital. Okay, I work with surgery. And this particular day, we came in and there was a small tray that everybody was looking for. And we sterilize these trays and we send them back up the elevator to the actual OR rooms where the other units come and grab them and they put them on the cases or put them up on the shelf or whatever. So this tray, nobody could find it. It's only 3 areas that could go, but nobody can find it. They had 5 people trying to find this small little tray. They're all going ramp ass crazy looking for this small tray. And I'm watching the whole thing just like, one, I just walked in here. I'm not about to be the 6th man watching running around with my chicken head, like chicken with his head cut off, trying to find this tray. So I casually was looking around, didn't see it, didn't see it. Looked in the obvious areas, didn't see it. I said, it's probably up in this core. It's probably over in that core. It can't be anywhere else. 10 minutes, about 10, 15 minutes went by. Oh, we found it. It was up in the other core. Y'all were going crazy looking for this tray, and nobody took the time to step back and like. And then the crazy thing is, I can't. Not only did I say it, but I heard it said several times by other people, and it was just like, "What are you doing? Breathe." There's a fine line between rushing and urgency, and everybody crosses it. Everybody crosses it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to law enforcement, you know, and this is a message to the police officers out there. You need to know who the people you're dealing with. You know, if you are, and I'm speaking in terms of Cleveland, if you are an officer of Rocky River, or if you're from Rocky River, which is like the west side of Cleveland, and it's kind of, you know, hoity-toity or whatever, nice homes and everything else. If you're from Rocky River, but you become an officer in East Cleveland, that ain't the place for you to be.
Right.
That's not your arena. You don't know. That's not your people. You don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know how to deal with them. You haven't been around that. You don't know. You know, and it's very important that you know the community you deal with. I will
These are
respect you ever
conversations
know.
we need to have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Not
this is
defund, defund.
yeah, right. People
You
talk. The
know?
first thing they're like, you want to take money away from the people who's supposed to be helping the
And then
protective
you're gonna call
service.
them. And they laugh at you. And then
You're
nothing
right.
happens. Nothing works. Because
You know,
both
you wonder.
parties have a reason, but it's like that's not it.
Right.
And half people didn't even know what defunded meant.
Mm,
Stop using words and don't explain yourself.
right. You know,
Stop
you
it.
need you need to retrain. Number one, you need to retrain, and then you need to vet who you hire as an officer of the law.
Yeah.
Now, what I do know a lot of times, and don't get me wrong, like I said, I'm from a military family. My son's in the military. My wife's from a military family. So nothing against the military, but not all military can or should be in law enforcement, because there are things they have dealt
Oh,
with
yeah.
that causes them trauma, that when they get behind the shield, they react different. They're in that soldier mentality now.
You didn't even
And
know
when
that.
they get
Yeah.
and they get this situation where, okay, you got this combative subject, and the only thing you know how to react to is pulling that pistol, pull that
Mhm.
weapon, pull that weapon, pull that weapon. That ain't the situation you want to solve it in. That's not how
Makes
you
me
want to do
wonder.
that. It's
Well, okay,
easier
put
to
that
be,
in.
yeah, it's easier to be a police officer than it is to become a professor. They have
Okay.
you go to they have you go through all, to be a scientist. You have to go through all this, and you really should, but you have to go through all these classes and everything else to be the scientist. You should do the same thing when it comes to being an officer. It shouldn't just be like, oh, they have a background in military, and they
Hmm.
they they know how to run the track, they know how to run a mile with a weight belt on and everything, all this other. No, you
Makes me
need to
wonder why
know.
so careless with something
Right.
so vital and
You know,
important.
when you hear stuff like, oh, I didn't know I pulled my weapon. It was supposed to be my stun gun. In the
Yeah.
heat of the moment, you didn't know this is what you're trained for.
Right. That should tell you right there, like, okay, everybody, reel them in, reel them in,
Right.
reel them in. Because that don't
I
take back a life you just.
yeah. In the heat of the moment, that's what you're going for.
When I heard
Come
that,
on.
I said, you chose to
There's
say that dumb shit.
right.
Like,
In
you
the
never
in
heard,
the
have you
heat.
heard that before? That was a
Yeah,
first for
right.
me.
Right. You know, I mean, oh God, it happens too often. And it was like, oh yeah, they've been an officer for 20 years, and they pulled the wrong weapon for 20 years, and you didn't know the difference between a stun gun and a gun. Are you yeah, that's the excuse you're giving me. Come on.
That's part that baffled me. I was like, you was bold enough to say that shit. You couldn't come up with nothing else.
Right.
You know what happened.
I
You know?
I know during 2020, when when you had a record number of Black Lives Matter protests going on. I can't remember where this one even took place, but in one of the many upheavals in one of the cities, the police line was moving. You know, the right had the riot gear on and everything else. One of those officers was pretty much going almost physically combative with one of the protesters.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
Well, I think it was their captain, black woman, who was their captain. She separated them, number one, and then she looked at that officer dead in his eyes and told him, "You get off the line. You go back to the precinct. I will deal with you later."
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, she put the black mama out on his ass."
That's why they don't want us running shit.
Right. And you seen it. You seen the whole action that she was doing. First thing I thought of was like, I know that look. That's that mama about beat your ass. That's your ass. You know? And here's another thing when it comes to law enforcement. If you have been found guilty of illegally or not or of just wrongfully killing or shooting someone, and the police department fires you, you should treat it. That's it. You're no longer an officer in no other precinct, no other district, nowhere else.
Move them. Yeah.
It's just like if you're a doctor. If you mess up and they take your license, that's it.
You're done.
You can't be a doctor no more. You're done. You're done. You took an oath.
Makes no sense. It's like you get to go somewhere and fuck somebody else up now too.
Right.
And nobody does. It's like
you don't see cops. You don't see cops from Gotham getting fired from the force, but then again, most of the cops from Gotham are crooked except for Jim Gordon. So, but you don't see them getting fired from Gotham Police Department, then they go to Metropolis and cut up. That's not how it works.
And still qualify for pensions and all that stuff. Like guy in prison now, he still qualifies for his pension. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's amazing. It should, and with that, I could wax poetic about that one. But it shouldn't, it should be a dead stop. And there are some black officers who have stood up to that and have paid the price for it.
Yeah, that's a black woman. I was going to ask
just got her pitch.
Just got it. Yeah, that black lady with the and the one.
I think after 20 years or something like that.
Yeah, she just got it because she actually did something about it, and they were like, "Oh, she's going to come here and do your job, huh?"
Yeah, right.
Just ripped her of everything.
This whole thin blue line business, is like look,
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right. And just like with that situation with George Floyd, one of those cops was a rookie. Can you imagine being a rookie on the job, and this is the most extreme thing you've seen, and you are in between? Man. What do I say? What do I do? And the person who's in charge, and the person in charge of you is one of the officers, and you're just like, what the hell?
That, huh? You remember that thing when he was doing, and he was just looking like, you're like, why are they looking like that? Like the no emotion. So you looking like fuck?
Like he's supposed to be listening to his subordinate, and
he's doing it, but
he's like, you're stuck in a rock and a hard place. Yeah. And us on the outside looking in, we're just like, dude, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Sometimes it means you taking that bullet. You better. That's the thing. You got to look at stuff. Mm-hmm. I can honestly say with myself, I'm like, I can't sleep. I can't sleep. If I didn't say something right then, and I went home, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm not even waiting till tomorrow. I gotta get up. I gotta go. I gotta say something to somebody. If I gotta call a press conference and say fuck everything else, and like, yo, this is what happened. I don't even care if I lose my job. Fuck it, because it's not worth it. It's not worth that.
Because it's gonna eat you.
It's gonna eat you. It's gonna eat you. There is no amount of money. If it does pay you off, then you have no conscience.
And it's still gonna eat you.
You're gonna pay for that later.
Yes.
Lord sitting up there like, you thought you was getting in here, not anymore. You know,
I mean, you gonna
so
buy your way in here. Why don't you?
you better enjoy it while you can. So,
Yeah,
so, but yeah, there are so many ways to go about solving these issues,
yeah, yeah,
and they don't solve them. It starts at the top, it starts at the bottom, it starts in the middle. There's so many levels. I don't know if you've seen um the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show on Disney Plus.
nah.
Okay.
I've heard of it. Somebody told me I
Okay.
should watch
So I'm spoiler alert, but
it.
the Falcon is now the new Captain America. If you've seen Endgame, Avengers Endgame,
Yeah.
Steve Rogers gave him the shield, so he's now the new Captain America.
Oh, shit.
And he, at the beginning of the show, he doesn't want the shield. He actually gives the shield up to like the Smithsonian or something. But then some stuff happens. He has to get it back and all this other stuff. But by the end of the series, he takes on the role, and he's talking to these politicians and everything else. And this show touched on everything from PTSD to racism to trusting the government. It touched on everything. And he was sitting there talking to one of the politicians, and he was saying, you know what, she wouldn't have done all of this if you had just realized that they needed help. And the politician says, well, what are we supposed to do? He says, you have billions of dollars you can start a war with a phone call. You mean to tell me you can't pick up the phone and say, hey, let's get these people some help?
Right.
Let's stop all of this by doing just one thing. you know it's all in hindsight. um I got another example. They have a new animated series called What If, and it's through Marvel, and it's on Disney Plus. And it's basically like, what if these characters went different routes in their life,
Mm.
right? And this particular one, which was from last week, was called What If T'Challa was Star Lord. you know so he became Star Lord.
I'm gonna ask my
And
son
as
that.
you're watching this episode, have you're watching this
Right here.
episode, you're watching this episode, and if you paid any attention to any of the Marvel films, like you had Thanos who was starting the Infinity War, you had all this other stuff. None of this happened, all because of T'Challa. None of this happened because he managed to talk. You didn't see it, but there's things that happen in the show that Thanos was like, I thought about it, but then me and him had a discussion. You and Black Panther had a discussion, and the Infinity War never happened. He stopped all of this, you know, by doing one thing. He says, I found a way to make sure all planets live. In hindsight, in hindsight. So you have to think, everybody's all about this green,
Yeah.
getting that dollar, getting that dollar. Do you realize that if you did it the right way, everybody could get paid?
Everybody wins. I had a show like everybody wins, and we could
You know,
still.
you fighting out here. We coming out of a pandemic. People aren't getting the stimulus money anymore. The unemployment has ended, and you're fighting about, we don't know if we can give retailers $15 starting out $15 an hour. Why not? Who the hell can survive
Exactly.
on 750 or 9 or whatever the hell it is now? Who can
You know,
survive on that?
lower everything down to 99 cents. I don't get it, what they're doing here. It's like,
And
wait,
and your
you've been
gas
busting
is,
out money for all this other stuff too. Here's your
yeah.
bill.
Like, how do you pay? Like, how do you pay out all this stuff, but you can't give working class people a break?
That's why people need to wake up and be like,
How
no,
how much money can one? Everybody wants a nice house,
let's stop going to work. It's everybody.
right? You got let you stop going to work and see what happens. Let enough of us stop going to work and see what happens.
Stop buying shit.
Right. By the way, buy black.
Okay,
Because
just
we out
that.
here. We out here. We are out here. We're
Right.
trying to make the difference. We out here. So
That's how much power we have with it.
yeah.
What makes the world tick.
Black Wall Street. Hello.
Right? This is what they was like, oh no. That's why when they say stuff, I'd be like, oh really? Oh, we're lazy. Oh,
You know,
you try to give us handouts. I
like
didn't
I
know that's why I
mentioned.
said Black Wall
uh,
Street. I'm just gonna leave that right there.
Yes. And see, and circling back to Lovecraft Country, I was absolutely amazed that they even mentioned Tulsa, Oklahoma. I said, "Oh, we doing that show," and that wasn't the only show to do it. Watchmen that had Regina King did the same thing. It's just Lovecraft Country went into it more. They went into the whole, you know, history books would call it the riots. I'm gonna call it what it is. It was the
Right.
massacre, and it wasn't the only one.
Mhm.
There are several cities throughout this country who have gone through massacres, and all of them were black cities.
And with money.
A lot of the lakes that are in in this country.
Yeah, that's where they got that saying from. Sell you under the rib. Something I heard it came from
Sound up
like when
your
they, yeah, from throwing. Yeah, that's
Central
why they don't want
Park,
that critical thinking. Oh, they
Central
did do
Park,
that. You know what? We need to talk about that one because
Central Park.
there was some weird. We watched it a few times, and then it left some open ended questions.
Yeah, Central Park used to be a black town. So
Yeah.
there are so if you haven't picked up, if the listeners or the watchers haven't picked this up, I am very pro black. I'm all about unity, but I'm very pro
Yeah.
black. You know, I want you to understand I'm not against interracial dating. I'm not against white people. I'm not against any of that. But what I am for is my people being uplifted. What I am
Yeah.
for is my people being seen as equal. What I am for
Exactly.
is being recognized and understood and celebrated for our contributions to this country, into history.
Exactly.
So I'm
That
very
should
pro
be
black when it
understood.
comes to that. Yeah. So when they
They're
say,
like, what? We don't get
"Oh,
it.
when you say," I'm like, we are the most innovative, toughest, adaptive people on this planet. When they
Yeah.
still most of the resources that's in technology comes from Africa.
Yeah. That's scary though because they're never gonna leave them alone.
They're
Sorry.
never gonna leave them alone.
They're going to go back to where
And
you came.
it was just like when
Yeah.
everybody was so proud that look, for the people out there who are non POCs, if you're trying to figure out why when Black Panther came out, how many people wish Wakanda was real, this is why. Because the stuff that went on in this fictional country, they were at peace, they were technologically advanced, far more advanced than three other countries put together. They were at peace. The only war they had was within themselves, but that was from warring tribes because they wanted to live an old way. They were about advancement. But even they got past that. You know, people look at the character of Killmonger and they say, was he right? Partially he was. And then he started coming from a place of straight out anger,
Yeah.
compared to what happened to his father and to his mother, because his mother was locked up in prison, still don't know what for. And then his father was killed by his uncle
After I
inadvertently,
rewatched it. Yeah.
So there was so much for him. And it was a rightful anger. Don't get me wrong. It was just misdirected, you
Yeah.
know, and in the US found a way to exploit that.
I'm sorry,
So
this little boy over here making sandwiches while we.
oh,
I'm
I
sorry.
don't even hear it. But
Okay.
it's 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 it a lot of what I read in comics literally mirrors reality. When I hear people say comics are too political, and I say, how long have you been reading comics? Because the first Captain America comic literally has him on the cover punching Hitler in the face. You can't get much more political than that.
Like, duh.
You know, the X-Men is literally about racism and bigotry.
Look, is that why comics were in the newspaper?
You know,
Could that have
you
been?
know,
I don't know.
right. Spider-Man is the embodiment of every person in this country who is trying to make ends meet,
Mhm.
trying to keep a job, trying to support for his family, the whole nine, and still be the good guy.
Yeah.
So it's always been political. It will always be political.
People who
So
they're like, oh, it's politics and stuff. And I did a ghost cast, this community I'm in, and I did something on that. I was like, politics. I was like, why do people steer away from it? I was like, because it's a word, but there's something that it's a meaning of it, but it's not really that you get uncomfortable with. It's the people involved in
mm, mm,
politics. So
mm,
let's separate the two because it can go differently. But it's the people that should say something. And what do we do about not politics, but the people that are in politics right now?
exactly. When you have two warring tribes and it's a third that's constantly trying to get in, and you're always like, who is really for us? And I don't mean just us as black people. I mean us
The
as a country.
people.
Who,
Yeah.
the working people who help keep this thing running. Who is
No.
for us?
No.
When you say, "Oh well," like you need to tax the rich. You need to. There is nothing I would want nothing
Makes
more
no sense not to.
to be able to take time off work and take my wife across country or out of country to a nice island. I don't have to be there for a whole month. I would like to be there for at least a week and then take a second week off and be relaxed with no problems, with no worries about how I'm going to make this bill get paid,
Right.
how I'm going to make the ends meet. Do I have to work overtime to make this up? I don't want to have to worry about that. I don't want to have to worry about my health insurance. Jesus Christ. I don't want to have to worry about the fact that I'm worth more dead than I am alive.
Man, it's crazy, right?
Right.
It's,
It's like
that's
I've
ridiculous.
heard people say it all the time. People always say, "Well, why did you cremate such and such?" Because it's cheaper.
Yeah, that's what did my mom.
So
She told
like,
us to too. It's crazy
yeah,
part.
it's to the point like I would rather you cremate me because you want me to pay for a hole to put me in, an expensive box to throw me in. It's like,
So
yeah, we're gonna
expensive.
put them in this mahogany box with this gold inlay and all this and this cotton Egyptian silk, and
What's that?
I ain't gonna feel none of that.
None of it. None of it. God said, ask what he said. Ask what. That's
I'm
he
like,
said.
I'm
When you
going to,
get
see,
to the
I'm
kingdom, you'll
man,
see
I'm
the
going to,
gold.
I can't take it with me when I go upstairs. I can't do none
No,
of that. It's no good to me. You know, like
that's
I
all
remember
part of the game.
I remember my mother even say, she was like, you know what, either cremate me or put me in a pine box, call it a day. You know, it's
It makes no
crazy.
sense. Yeah,
It's crazy. The whole thing
somebody
is
cashing in on
one,
it.
yeah, it's one big machine. Everybody got to get paid. Everybody got to get paid.
Yep, off of our demise, off of our death, off of our illnesses. We no cure. Please, honey, get to reality. People will be out of a job. FDA food. I mean, I'll say it.
Yeah.
Why would they make us healthy? Like, duh. They would
See,
natural
this is funny.
cures? No.
There's the Panther comic book from the early 2000s, the volume from the early 2000s, and they even did an animated series for it, and it was on MT or BET. His mother, and T'Challa when he was young, they went to the UN, and everybody wanted Wakanda at the UN. Why? Because they got this expensive metal that everybody wants, right?
Mm.
So they're at the UN, and it's his turn. It's King T'Chaka's turn to come up and talk on the podium and everything else. And they're saying, "Why won't you sell us some vibranium?" And they're blah 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 blah. And then there's all this. He says, "Why would I sell you an ounce of our precious metal when you all have the power to heal the world?"
Hmm.
He said, "You have pharmaceutical companies. Instead of helping solve the illnesses, you want to just solve the symptoms." He said you could cure cancer if you wanted to, and you choose not to because you get paid more off giving medication to stop the symptoms, just to make them feel no pain, opposed to just curing it because you would be out of a job. He said, "Why would I give you any vibranium? I'm not giving you any vibranium. Why would I?
You're gonna use it for nothing. You're gonna
You're
help.
just like," he said, he's like, "You'll use it for war." He said, "You will use it for war." And he's like, I mean, it was facts.
They don't like that.
Pharmaceutical. I'm very much against taking tons of pills. My wife even knows it. I'm
Uh-huh.
against taking tons of pills for anything. If I have a headache, I will try to sleep it off
Me too.
before anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I got a headache. What happened? Didn't drink enough water, didn't eat, didn't go to the bathroom. I don't know. But
Right.
I'm gonna try all of those actions first, and then I'm gonna go lay down. You know, it'll go away after that. Is it too much tension? Well, I'm gonna go to sleep. That's what I'm gonna do.
Exactly.
It'll go away. But I don't want to have to take something for migraines
Exactly.
when
My son
there's
gets
ways to solve
migraine.
it. I don't want to
Yeah,
take something for.
exactly.
My right arm has metal in the whole forearm, and uh, I remember this was like I was 19 years old when this happened. Uh, they gave me morphine in pill form. So my mother, she kept the pills, and she said, "Ask me for one of these pills if you can absolutely handle the pain." I got a very high tolerance, so a lot of time I could probably count on my hand how many times I took those pills. Probably about 2 or 3 times, and it was just once a day. They were saying, "Oh, take it in the morning, take it at night." I wasn't doing all that shit. I wasn't doing it. I was like, I think for the first night I took it home, I went home, I took it, and then I probably took it 1 or 2 other times because it was during the winter, so I was feeling the ache a lot stronger by it healing. So if I couldn't tolerate that ache, like if I'm sleeping and it wakes me up my sleep, then that's when I'm like, all right, maybe I should have took one. But most of the time, I knew what not to do. I'm like, I'm not gonna hit it. He's trying to heal. I'm not doing anything. It's my dominant arm. And I'm like, by the time they said I would heal from 6 months to a year, I healed in 3 months.
Hmm.
And then they said, "Oh, I'll never be 100%." And I'm like, look, I literally dented a can with my hand. Now by that time, I had met my wife, so I wasn't. I'm like, I'm one of those. I'm like, I'm the type of guy because I'm an Aries. I'm the type of guy you cannot tell me what I can't do because now I got to prove you wrong,
Right.
you know. And my uncle says it's a testament to my strength. I said,
Hmm.
yeah, I love to prove. I will. It's a bit petty, but I will prove you wrong. So I'm fine with
It's
that.
the power of the mind. I'm telling you, when you determine you want to do something, you do
Yeah,
it. I tell people just because what they wear, a badge, where you sit, what you wear, I don't care who you pope, don't care. Doesn't make you the say all, do all, and you can't be wrong or possibly correct. But I'm just saying, you're not the answer to everything. You need to be second. I need to get a second opinion,
right,
third, fourth,
right.
five, six. Yes, but people, even people that say they believe in God and have faith, be doubting them. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? They're like,
because us as humans are flawed. We are
mhm.
flawed individuals. When oh, I do this and I do that, and I'm like, and you telling me you never made a mistake in your life? You never had a little bit of doubt? You never been in a struggle where you were like, damn, I just need a minute. I need a minute. We've all been there.
No,
It may not be the crisis of faith
God,
that you're thinking of.
he just been had he had some
Yeah,
they
even yeah,
want to take
even
you
Jesus,
together.
even
Crazy,
Jesus
crazy.
said it. He was like, look, I don't want to do this, but if this is what you're gonna have me do, I guess I got to do it. Like the man himself said that. Like, I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. You know, but if I have to kind of get the point across, so be it. It might be a little bit reluctant, but I'll do it. You know, and that's something else you have to understand. People think that you know when it comes to faith, they think that nothing bad will happen.
Right.
No, it will. It's not so much that he wants it to happen to you. You're being tested. it's almost like, and I used to say it's almost like a betting game between him and Lucifer. They're sitting in a room somewhere,
Yeah.
and he's saying, like with
I
Job,
seen a
perfect
picture of him
example.
playing chess.
Yeah, he was just like, he's sitting up there like, Lord, I guarantee you that boy Job, he gonna stumble.
Yep.
And God is like, please, not Job, not Job. Your move. And so it was just like,
I seen a
I'm gonna
picture of
take all his
hologram.
family, take his
Yeah.
family one night, boom, take his prop all night, boom. Then still, Job was like, I don't know what you're doing, Lord, but I'm still with you. And the Lord just
Right.
like, see, checkmate, So he was
You're
just
like, you
like,
said I'll be good. Okay.
right. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like all this stuff happening, but you got something planned for me. And so
The
bad stuff
test.
is gonna
Yeah.
happen. For people out there, stuff is gonna happen. It's about you having the strength of character to know how to roll with it. Some people can't deal with pressure like other folks. I've heard people say, "Man, I lost my job and this, that, and the other." All right, sleep on it for the night, but tomorrow morning you might want to get up and start looking for a job, because sitting back and soaking about it ain't gonna let it fall in your lap.
Exactly.
You got to get off and work. You got to get off your ass. You got to work for that. You know, that's what it's all about. It's the hustle. It's no other way to put it. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to roll with those punches. Sometimes you got to fall from grace. If you got everything under the sun you've ever looked for and wanted,
You just
and
what
you
you got.
didn't help the brother or the sister behind you, it was all for nothing.
Preach.
It was all for nothing.
All
Like,
for nothing.
I see these billionaires out here. Now there's some of them who actually do something, and they quiet as kept.
Yeah. You said some.
Is and that's a very small number.
You're right. Yes.
But you got these other ones. Oh, I had to shut down my business, or I had to do this with my business, but and I couldn't pay my employees, but I walked away with a $1 billion salary severance package. I'm sorry, what?
You couldn't pay. What?
My wife left me. I'm like, well, maybe if you shouldn't have been with Brenda over in the Cabos Island somewhere, spending all this money. Hell, you know,
You knew you were
it's
gonna be cheating. You should have started a prenup. I'm saying.
right. You should have been smarter than that,
Oh,
Mr.
right.
Billionaire Man.
So
So
sad.
if you're not putting in the work
Yeah.
to help others out, so you don't have to be seen. You really don't have to be seen. Let me be a billionaire. I don't want
Right.
my name in the news.
Because you know people know
For
you. Yeah. You're. Yeah.
I don't want my name in the news. If I will let me go to my old high school and drop 100 grand. Oh, thank you, Thank you, Mr. Fury. Thank you, Mr. Fury. What should we do? The right thing and leave my name out of it.
Right.
I don't want them knowing. I want these kids to know that we give a damn. You know, that we're looking out for them too. You know, I want these kids. It's a good thing that you getting. What's it? I can't remember which HBCU it was recently during the graduation, but at their graduation ceremony, they found out that all their student loan debt was wiped. That was their gift. No questions asked.
It's amazing.
We need that. There is no plausible reason you can give me that you get out of high school, you go to college to get this degree as a doctor, a scientist, a lawyer, whatever, and you get this high paying job, but you several $1,000s in debt. How does that work? That doesn't make sense to me. Those numbers do not add up. Who are you paying? Who are
Seriously.
you paying?
Who's
And
ripping you
then,
off? 'Cause I don't know.
right. And then, like, some of the classes you got to take. I might be going to school to become, I might be going to school to become a businessman. Okay. Let's just say a corporate lawyer. All right. So obviously, I got to know some numbers. I got to know to talk numbers. I need to know percentages. I need to know. Obviously, I made it this far, so I don't need to take English. You know, I don't need English cop. I've taken English all the way up to this point. I know how to write a paragraph. I know how to write a copyright. I know how to get all this stuff out the way. I don't need another English class. For what reason? I need to know how to do these numbers now. I need to know how to negotiate. I need to know how to make things happen. There's people. I used to say, I used to say that some of the best businessmen were drug dealers, and I used to
No,
say, I said, imagine if you took what you knew about flipping keys and doubling up and holding back and re-upping and everything else, and you applied that to the corporate world, and you a black man, whoo,
that
you wipe Wall Street's ass with that.
smells fire right there.
You know, think about that. Like if y'all out here listening, y'all flip. Look, I don't knock y'all. I don't knock no hustle, but no, that ain't that should not be your end game. That should not be your end game.
Take that and apply it.
Apply that knowledge to something else. You like there's things that you learn, and I'm talking to my black people. There's things that you learn in the streets. There's things you learn in the streets that can be applied in the corporate world. Flat out. There's things you learn in the streets that can be applied to the record business. There are things you learn in the streets that can be applied to war. Everything has a method. Everything you think about and do has a cause and effect. And sometimes you have to think far enough in advance what it is you're trying to affect. What is you're going to be your end game and whatever it is you're doing. And do you plan on helping out? Don't do it for the accolades. Damn that. That don't do nothing. Accolades mean shit. You know, if you tired of the way your neighborhood look, get out there and work for it. If you tired of the way how law enforcement is treating our people, get out there and start saying something about it. If you're a politician and you have every inclination to do exactly what you say you're going to do, damn the naysayers and do it. Even if it means you saying, even if it means they say, hey, if you do this, I'll go ahead and fund it. Be like, well, you'll fund it and I'll do it. Don't do it. Let them fund it. Let them fund it. What they gonna do? Get mad? Because at the end, you're just trying to you want to do the right thing. Sometimes you got to be a little snake.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to be Lex Luthor in this world, you know, in
Do a
order to
little bit
get
of
the
everybody,
point.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta get that out there. You know, I've been joking with my people, and I said I get it now. And he was like, "What?" I said, "I think I'm the villain." He's like, "How do you figure?" I said, I have a very deep voice. I'm very analytical. I have a beard and mustache, and I'm bald. I said that qualifies me as a villain. And they was like, "You're stupid," and I'm like, "But it's true." And then I said, "There's a slight bit of petty that I enjoy, so that technically makes me like Lex Luthor a little bit." So, but yeah, it's there's so many ways in the world that literally comes back around to how things work in comics,
Yeah.
you know. And if it's any testament, if you've watched any MCU films and you've looked at the villains, if you looked at Ultron, if you looked at Killmonger, you looked at Thanos, they've managed to have a reason behind
Yeah.
what they do.
Yeah. They
You
make
know,
you look at it, not just judge, kind of be like, why? You want to know.
yeah,
I
like
don't know.
Thanos was on. He wasn't some. He was on a killing spree, but not in the
Hmm.
sense of I'm just wiping out people.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to allocate the resources of the universe so people can live.
Yeah.
And if you
Kind of like
watched
me
Endgame,
recently. I don't know.
yeah, and if you've seen like at Endgame, it was 5 years later, and even Captain America was like, I
That's
went by the
me.
Hudson today and I seen whales. The water was clear. We seen that this year. Well, not this year, last year during the pandemic. People couldn't go to work.
You know,
Traffic was less.
you
Gas
can
was
see all the
cheap.
stuff in the air. The
Yeah,
Air
yeah.
was clear.
The water was getting clearer.
Ah,
You were seeing animals more.
they happy. First thing I thought, I was like, I wonder what they feeling out there. I wonder what the hell them animals out there was thinking as soon as the first one hit the beach. And it's like, that's the first thing everybody did. I swear. I know in Cali, right to the beach before they
They
even
hit the
said you could
beach.
go. They was there,
Right.
and I said, "Damn, I know wildlife is like."
Like we had a whole year. Like nigga, we had a whole year we had the beach to
I
ourselves.
swear I was
Remember
wondering
when we had the beach to ourselves before they came along? You know,
that.
it's but
Nobody thinks about them, do
yeah.
they?
And I am in the midst of the pandemic, I remember it was like it was 2 weeks. Let me see, it was the end of March, and then that's when it kicked in. So I think by May or June, that's when you really started seeing a difference, in the environment. And I was joking with one of the guys at work, and I said, hell, maybe they need to shut down the world for 2 weeks every year.
Okay.
Just 2 weeks. Everybody take 2 weeks off. Don't worry about it. We'll pay you in advance. You're fine. And then we come back and reconvene. So
I'm
yeah,
so sorry.
that's okay.
People should know. They should know. They should fucking know.
But it does that. It makes you
Yeah.
think. Ultron was literally an AI who was probably on the internet for less than 5 minutes and realized the best way to solve all of this is to wipe out all the humans, because it seems to always be a war and desolation
Yeah.
and stuff falling apart when they're involved. If I take them out, everything else will be better. You
Mhm.
know, Killmonger was like, Killmonger was like, Wakanda has the resources to help our people back in the States. Why aren't you doing that? So, and once again, he went about it the wrong way. T'Challa went back at the end of the movie. He went back to fix it the right way. So you really have to look at the power that we have, and we have a lot. We just need to know where to find it, where to dig it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's pretty awesome. And
I went deep on you. I know I
yeah,
did.
I mean, no, I love it. I love it because it's all it is it keeps bringing me back to like what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like with the comics and everything, and how you just shown people that probably didn't know if you actually pay attention. You know what I mean? And that could explain your kid probably is getting something out of it. You didn't think that they was, but also too what you could use to apply to our youth in
Right.
so many different ways, from the bullying to you know just about what we just talked about now. All that whole thing, I didn't really eat all of that. I didn't really catch when it came to like the comics, how that was playing out, and how
Mm.
I didn't. Maybe because I just didn't, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
didn't give
I
it
mean,
the time of day.
even with Lex Luthor, I joke about the villain thing, but even with Lex Luthor, the reason why he doesn't like Superman so much
It
is
was
because
fun.
here is a person who is pretty much all powerful, and at the snap of his fingers could wipe us out. Who is going to be there to stop him? And the only problem with Lex Luthor is he feels like it always has to be him.
Hmm.
You know, so it's a very altruistic reasoning, but at the same time, his methods are very vain.
Yeah. Because I was trying to wonder, like, why are you so like petty to like why you don't like him?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
he's just like it was like he's not seeing it for the face, but and you get it when you see it when it's boiled down like that. You get it. You was like, yeah, I get that. I get why he would think there's this alien who is saving all these people and everything else. But look how strong he is. What happens if the one day he just gets tired of it and he flips?
and you went back wrong.
Who
Yeah.
will be the one to stop him? You know, I have the resources to at least try. You
Think
know,
he got a little out of hand though. Think he got a little out of
right, right.
hand. It became a thing,
But
right?
that was the other side. That was that fine line that he went over. He was just like,
Hmm.
but imagine all the stuff that I could do.
Ah, did that
And
right? Kind of like how it is, and
and
then you
that's what
give him a
it.
little bit.
Yeah, it was like, dude, you're already a billionaire. You really don't need to prove anything else. Just
Yeah,
be waiting in the wings if Superman does flip. That's all you need to do.
right.
You know,
You start to enjoy it. Yeah.
right?
Power or something. It's like, I don't know, it's something because in this world we see it's all about power. Like you
Mhm.
have all the money. Why do you want to control people? It's weird, but that's what you want to do. And that's like that's an illness. That's a virus in itself. Somebody needs
Yeah,
to take a look at that. That's what I say.
there is no perfect person in this world,
But why do you
unfortunately.
want to control people? Like it's weird
Right?
to me. What do you need slaves for? That should have never make sense to me.
It
I
never
think
did.
it's some kind of mental.
Like, look, they don't know what they're doing. No, they do. You just lied to them, and they didn't have the resources to fight back. And
Right,
the ones that did, you tried to punish.
right.
You know, so
I'm gonna save this one for a different day though, because we're gonna do this. I hope we can
oh
do
yeah,
this again. But
oh
I'll
yeah,
tell
oh
you
yeah.
that story where a boy made sense and said why slaves walked into slavery. Like he almost had me convinced.
Mm,
He said that it was a choice. But if you listen to him, you'd be like, I can see why you say that. But if you don't have the whole story,
right,
like
right.
when you said how they were fighting back, then that's what they would probably want you.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Get the whole story, people. Do your homework, research,
There
because
you
they're
go.
not telling you shit out
Don't just take it at face value.
here. Nope. Nope.
It's always a cause and effect. Remember that.
Yes. Write that down. Call. I had a good time. I'm hoping. I hope that we could do this again because we got to get it. Do you watch The Walking Dead? Do you know anything about
I haven't watched the past.
it?
I barely watched last season because I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, where is this going? But I know this is their last season
Last
coming, so
season.
I might jump back on.
I'm nervous. Maggie and Negan. That's all I gotta say.
I did see that part. I'm like, Maggie wants that ass. I'm
Well,
sorry.
she bashed her husband, and he knows it too, and he kind of feels like he's like, I can see why she want me
Yeah,
dead, but he can't like just let his guard down, so he don't know what to do,
you can't come at her. You better not
right?
come at her. She
But it's
already
like that,
wants you dead. No
right,
hesitation.
right. But it's like that thing you said too. Like you got to look at it like what was the reason? And Negan became this because what they had did, and
I
he's like, oh,
loved it.
he woke
I
up the
loved his back.
beast.
I loved his backstory. I loved his
Yeah,
backstory because it
yeah, with
made
his
sense.
wife.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it
he
made
became
sense. And
that
that was his
way.
actual wife. That's his actual wife. And that made sense for him
Hmm.
to, you got it. He was, yeah, he was a bastard of a cheating husband, but he still loved his wife.
Yeah,
And, but when he found out that she was sick, all of that changed.
yeah,
All of that changed. And she said it like, why are you here now? He says, because I wasn't here before. And I'm regretting that. So now I'm trying to make up for that. And when that happened with him, that made you understand his path
yeah,
so much
yeah,
more that you was
yeah,
like, you had no choice but to be the bastard you are. They gave
yeah.
in this world, they gave you no option.
Yep. And he said, love will get you, you know what I mean, that weaken you.
Yeah,
He's like, you got to be, because he loved kids and all that stuff.
yeah,
And then he wouldn't have did that shit if they wouldn't have. Remember when they went in and Jesus sent them to go kill all, and he was like, oh,
yeah,
there came the whistle,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
So when you
So,
look back at you be like, I get it, Negan. I get it. I don't
that's why
like
I
it,
love his
but I get
character.
it.
Yeah. That's just too
Jeffrey,
epic. We definitely got to talk about it because that whole relationship with him and Carl and then Rick, but Carl saved his life because he loved Carl and he loved
yeah,
Judith. But him and Rick can't, you know what I mean? How do
no,
you love your arch nemesis kids? That's some real shit, right? That's why I love this show.
he respected Carl. He
Carl
was
is
just like
G. He could have came out and
he's
tried to
like
kill them all.
I was like, I like you, kid. I like
You
you.
like people like that.
So
Rick he'd be like, I told you twice.
like, look, kid, come on. I
Yeah,
don't want to do this.
I cried when Carl died. I did. That's my son. I was broken.
Oh
I
my
was like,
jeez.
oh my God. Carl
I
was a
didn't think
G
that. Yeah.
since he was little. He's like, just give me a gun.
I
Come
tell
on,
you what, Carl.
please.
I know Carl loved chocolate pudding. I was like, there's no way in hell I would have sat there and ate a whole can of chocolate.
I
Can you
remember
imagine
that when they
the
get to that
effects
house.
of that? Oh my
He's on top of the
That's
house.
that's all my man wanted was the chocolate pudding. He was just like, look, he went through all that. Let him have it. Let
Oh
him have it.
man, that show is epic. Nobody say I love the hell out of that show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry. Yeah, I need to see Rick though. It's my boo. But Daryl, see, look, we can do this all day. Little Daryl, take him
Right.
anywhere with me. I need a Daryl in my life.
Right.
He never stands down. He don't even shower, y'all. He just
he just he was like, we got work to do.
remember when they came to that one house that wasn't not the where the governor was, but that other one when they were looking around like when Carol was acting like she was a home baker and stuff
Oh
with the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
lady. Yeah, and he
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
looking around, and he wouldn't even. Everybody take a shower. He's on the steps. He was just like,
They sleep on Carol too, because
that's a gangster right there
they
all
sleep
day.
on Carol. For somebody that was
The
a
broken
survivor of
domestic violence.
domestic violence, right?
Yeah,
And then to be gone, to disappear for a while, and to come back like she did,
after Sophia, she
yo,
had it.
I was just like, yo, look at Carol.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah, because that was her weak spot was children when it
Yeah.
came to that, and she had to kill that little girl. Remember that? Oh
Oh,
man,
yeah, we
yeah.
could do this all day.
But no, we gonna say this. We gonna because I've been wanting to do since this the last one. I've been wanting to really like
Do like a recap.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
telling people I'm like no, I got you. I got quiz, please, any day.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, if you wouldn't mind coming on or to bring the people, we can do this.
yeah. We can figure some time. We can figure time out.
Yeah, okay, I'll definitely.
The three of us are busy bees. Blerd's Eye View just finished their season finale this past Tuesday. We'll probably go back in probably 2 weeks. And
Okay.
but you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Instagram at Blerd's Eye View. That's all one lowercase. You can find me on Instagram as well, Chris.Fury1, TikTok, Chris Fury1. You know, just type in Blerd's Eye View, Blerd's Eye View podcast on Facebook. Just follow the link tree.
I know that's perfect. I saw your link tree. I was like, that will take me.
Yeah.
The link tree is the bomb because that takes
All
you to
right.
everything. Most definitely. I'll make sure I'll put that on my website and then on our radio and just wherever so anybody can
Okay.
find you because this is what's up.
Right.
Thank you
I
so
mean, we
much.
do.
I had
I
so
do
much
do
fun.
a lot. I had a blast. I had a blast.
I
It's not
hope you
every day I get
did.
to do like this. It's not every time. It's not every day I get like when people hear that part of me, they just like, yo, this dude's like, this dude's like a philosopher. I'm like, well, yo, I just pay attention to a lot of stuff.
Right? See, you got to see, you on your shit over here, right? Don't get it twisted. They do the same thing to me, but it's all good. I thank you so much. This was a great connection, and you just made my day. I had so much fun. I
Thank
needed
you.
this.
Thank you. I'm glad you did.
Yes, yes. And until next, everybody, this is the amazing Christopher Gulley.
How's it going, everybody?
Bye.
Bye.